name's Mark Dempster. I work currently. I work in Hackney Drug and Alcohol Action Team in London. But I also have got a private addiction therapy practice in Harley Street in the centre of London, and I provide trainings for organisations around recovery and stuff. Just to give you a little sort of synopsis, really, of where I come from and how I got into this field, really, and because it'll start to make sense of why. Because I'll be speaking from personal experience a lot of times around addiction. So I've worked in the time that I was in drug services myself as a client many years ago from I think roughly about 1989 or 1988, around that time till 1996. I was in drug services as a client. I was in prisons as a client. You know, as a as a client, as a resident. So I experienced all of that side of, you know, the sort of personal experience. But also I grew up as a child in a family of addiction as well. My father was an alcoholic. My grandfather was an alcoholic. My uncles were alcoholics. So there was, in my family, it was like we used to say, alcoholism, drug addiction doesn't run in our family. It gallops. You know what I mean? There was just like, there's so much of it. So as a young boy, I was a caretaker as well. So I started to caretake my father with his addiction, and I classify it as an illness. I know that some people don't, but the way I'm very fond of the 12-step model, so I always think it in sort of illness terms, but also the latest neuroscience is saying it's a brain disease and stuff, which ties in with some of that stuff. So I got clean when I was 32 years old. I got clean for the wrong initially for the wrong reasons, because I had to go to court. I was in Belmarsh prison, and I had to go for quite a serious crime. And I thought, oh Jesus, you know, I'm going to get 4 years or whatever for this crime. So I applied to detox. I applied to go into a detox, an inpatient detox, and I actually got off with the crime. I got not guilty on the crime in a Crown Court, and I forgot about applying for detox. And then one day I went into my local drug service, and he says, listen, you've got a bed on Monday. This was like on the Thursday. You've got a bed on Monday. You have to apply. You have to get into this detox. And of course, as an addict, you know, my experience is that there's never enough drugs and there's never enough time, and you're never going to give up now. You'll give up. It was like my mantra would be like when people used to harass me and say, "Have you thought about giving up, Mark? You know, look at the consequences of your addiction. Look at the turmoil." And I go, "Yeah, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it late at the New Year's resolution. It's always tomorrow, the next day, just not now, just later on, you know." And so in '96, I had hit a spiritual, emotional, and mental rock bottom, and you know, friends of mine were dying around me. I had a lot of suicidal ideation, and at the time, and I thought, well, let's give it a try. I never dreamed, you know, back then when I was going through the gates of the detox in 1996 that, because it was a 4-week detox, and you know, I thought 4 weeks without using drugs or alcohol. You could have been saying 40 years. You know, it's like it was, you know, it seemed like a long time. So basically, I got in there, and I met, and this is what's really important. I met the right professionals at the right time, and this is because there's window periods with addiction. See, the thing is about addictions and about drug services and about, I guess, therapy as a whole is what you're up at. The competition of the therapist or the competition of the drug service is the drug dealer, right? I was also a drug dealer for many years as well. The drug dealer, when you phone them up, doesn't say, when I'm phoning to score, the drug dealer doesn't say, I'll see you in 2 weeks' time and I'll give you a care assessment in 2 weeks' time. The drug dealer says, I'll see you in 10 minutes in Tesco's car park. But the drug service, what happens in drug services, and you know, it says, oh, I'll see you next week, and that doesn't work with drug addicts. You have to, when they hit that spiritual, emotional rock bottom, you've got a short period, you've got a short window period where you have to be really active, because because things are always changing in addiction. You know, when you're using drugs on a daily basis, one day you might make you know, you might have a touch and you might you burgle somebody's house or whatever you do, and you might get lots of money, and then the next day you've got nothing. So when you get the opportunity, you've got to act on it really, really quickly, and take that moment and provide the tool. And so I just also want to say too, because in case I forget, there's so many. I've got a 40-minute slot, and you know, there's a lot of stuff that I could talk about within this, and about the recovery journey and about relapse. But I also want to highlight, I've wrote a book, and after this, when I finish this, I'll be in there when we have our tea break, and I'll be able to sign copies of my book. If anybody wants to buy it, it's £8 a copy. It's a true story about my life and about my how, you know, coming through addiction, coming out the other side, getting into recovery, and you know, it's quite exciting. So the book thing, many years ago, I was doing talks. I was doing talks in self-help group, in 12-step groups, and a famous musician, said to me, "Listen, you've got to get this on paper. You should write some of these stories, because it was a crazy life." So I talked about. I talked about the window period and about relapse. I mean, basically, why it's important to the window period is the client comes in. Now, my experience also, this is what's important, is my experiences of working with clients and my Harley Street practices, most of the time, most things when they're in active addiction, most of the things that come out of their mouth is lies, right? I've got to say that is because and my job also as a therapist is to be able to decipher what I think the lies are from the truth, you know, and to try and how I work with clients is very different from. I don't work psychodynamically. I don't work person-centeredly. I work. It's a very directive style that I use with clients, because otherwise I feel. And I know that I wind up colluding with the client and colluding with the client's addiction or illness, right? Because for the client, what they want to do is they want to tick the box to say, "Oh, I'm seeing a therapist. I'm addressing this problem," you know, and I'm not saying all the time, but my experience is that a good percentage of the time they want to tick the box, or they're forced along to come and get therapy because their wife's on their case, or their husband's on their case, or the child, you know. So when I see people for the first time, I get a lot of gamblers. I recently got into the Standard newspaper in England about gambling addiction, because gambling is the latest. I mean, well, especially in England, if you only need to look around you nowadays, every second shop almost is like a cash. We used to call it cash converters, or you've got payday loans all the time. You're getting bombarded with these Wonga.coms, which are just loan sharks, really. Or you've got continuous advertising of bet on this, and they give you, the carrot is, we'll give you free money, we'll give you this.